Hey, Raindrops. Yeah. So, as you know, my podcast, Reality with the King, is on tour. And my next stop is live in New York City with the one, the only Queen of New Jersey, Teresa Giudice. Yes, on Tuesday, June 18th at the City Winery, Teresa Giudice and I will have a live conversation in front of a live audience. Make sure you get your tickets now. Log on to my website, kingdomrainint.com. Hit the tab that says tour, and me and Teresa Giudice cannot wait to see you on Tuesday, June 18th in New York City.
First of all, Kimmy, it's so nice to meet you. Since I've been working with the Kingdom Rain brand, excuse me, and we started kind of peeling back the layers of Love and Marriage Huntsville. I've been really, really excited to have a conversation with you,
Okay.
just because of what you represent on this cast. So it's very, very good to be in conversation with you today. And I'm so excited to just kind of dig in deep to Love and Marriage Huntsville with you. How you feeling today, Kimmy?
I actually feel great. I feel great, and I appreciate that. I appreciate it a lot. I like listening to your version of your commentaries as well on our show.
Well, thank you so much. I truly love your show, and Carlos and I have been friends for many years, so it was a natural progression to get to this point. But what I love most about your contribution to the cast, Kimmy, is that from day one, you've just established yourself as a level-headed anchor of this cast, even in moments we've seen kind of your patience be tested a little bit. We've just seen you just remain in control of what you contribute to these conversations. How have you been able to maintain that sort of just even tone in your participation on the show?
It's practice makes perfect. I
Hmm.
guess is what it is. Because in all fairness, most people who have known me most of my life know that I usually will say what I want to say when I want to say
Hmm.
it, how I want to say it.
Hmm.
And professionally, I think that helped me to grow to understand that you could still kind of get your point across nicer,
Yeah.
every now and then. And I say professionally because that's probably where I learned that how you speak to people matters.
Yeah.
Um, because that was my mentor in nursing. She would always say, like, if I came and complained about something, she would say, don't come to me with a complaint unless you come with a solution. Now, I might not use your solution, in
Right.
particular, but like when you are complaining, you should also have something that you think is going to help the situation get better. Um, and so a lot of my early career, I thought because I was such a great nurse, I could kind of pop off when I wanted to. Like, I was like, what you gonna do? Like, I'm the best nurse you got up here. Like, what you gonna send me home?
Right.
And but I realized that I remained a nurse doing
Yeah.
that. You know what I'm saying? And so as I
Yeah.
learned how to speak to people and interact with people, um, I began to advance. And that's how I
Yeah.
became the director and the executive director. And it literally wasn't until I learned some of those mechanisms that I learned to advance. And so I practiced that on the show. I do the
Yeah.
same thing on the show. I talk to people like I would want people to talk to me, um, until I can't.
Yeah, and you can tell it's really refreshing because it kind of aids and moves the conversation along in a way that is effective, right? And you can
Right.
kind of make progress in the communication. One of the ways that we saw that in this last episode and in the premiere episode from this season was in the conversation that you had when you invited Tisha and new cast member and former producer on the show, Sunny, to have just a little bit of conversation about some new developments amongst the cast. Now we do know that. Well, actually, before we even go there, Kimmy, let's do this, right? Because the day one viewers of the show, as I said, you're one of our favorite cast members, and we have been so excited to see you complete your journey with your journey rather with your health diagnosis. We know that you had experienced a triple negative breast cancer diagnosis. My own sister experienced that, so I'm very familiar with the minutia of all of that. So you look like the picture of health today, Kimmy. How are you feeling? How are you doing today?
I'm actually doing amazing. Like
Yeah.
I'm blessed beyond words. I really, really am. It was a long journey, and some days were better than others, some days were worse than others. But my circle, like took me over the edge. So I give most of my kudos literally to Jesus and my circle because
Yes.
they kind of keep your spirits up. And you probably know it's a lot of mind over matter.
A lot.
I'm strong enough physically to handle a lot of the stuff that came my way. But mentally, you really just have to kind of keep your mind in a healthy space.
Mhm.
And now I'm physically healthy and mentally healthy.
That's right. Well, we
I'm
love
getting
to
over
hear
a
that.
cold, so I'm a little
Mhm.
hoarse, but like other than that, yeah, I'm pretty good.
We can handle that. I always wondered as you were experiencing that, and as we were, and first of all, thank you for sharing and being open with that entire moment in your life, right? It's very personal, very vulnerable, and it's very unknown, right? You even
Mhm.
don't know what one day is going to be like going to the next. So we were really thankful that you were brave enough to share that with us. And I always wondered with your professional background in nursing, did you having a technical understanding of the medical component, what was going on with your body, did that help with the mental portion of your perspective on the experience, or was it just something that you had to just kind of take day by day?
It's something you take day by day.
Yeah.
In all fairness, I think me being a nurse hurt me more than it helped me
Really?
because you think you know everything. You think you
Yeah.
know like what's going to happen. You know what you saw with all the other patients that you took care of. You knew some of the detriments, in my particular case, I had two lumps, one in my breast and one in my lymph node. And
Mhm.
like the goal half the time is to keep it from getting to your lymph nodes.
To your lymph node.
So, I spiraled into a canal of, oh my God, what's going to happen? And so
Mhm.
spiritually, that is probably what has to help get me out of that hole,
Yeah.
because my nursing kicks in and my nursing is like, oh my gosh, the lymphatic system is the highway to the rest of your body and da 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 da. And then the spiritual part kicks in and says, Jesus got that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're happy to see you on the other side of that conversation.
yeah.
And again, just thank you for sharing that. How is your son, Jalen? Kimmy, how's the family right now?
That is awesome. Like,
Okay.
I love my kid. Like, I was
Yes.
blessed. Jalen's doing excellent. Jalen's in his own place. His birthday is next week. So, right now, that mug is chilling in the Dominican Republic. He is living his best life. I haven't even been myself, and he's been everywhere. And I appreciate that he's able to experience so many things early in his life that, we didn't necessarily get to experience as young adults.
Yeah.
So he's doing amazing. He's doing amazing.
Yeah, well, that comes from having a good foundation. We saw you set Jalen up for success. We saw him experience home ownership early.
Mhm,
We saw him graduate from college. We know that you
mhm.
positioned him to see that success. So we love seeing Black people excelling, especially on television, in real life, and so we're thankful that you all shared your family in that way with us.
I'm gonna
Um,
give you a little sneak peek on Jalen.
okay.
Jalen actually next week is gonna close on his first investment property.
Wow. Wow.
So, train up a child is what we say. So while everybody's all in this thing about this back and forth bickering, we literally over here doing the damn thing. And he's getting
Making
his
moves.
first investment property next week. And I'm just tickled. Like he's so happy and I'm
Mhm.
tickled for him. He's doing a residential flip. And he's excited.
Well, we love to see that, and huge congratulations to Jalen on that. His first investment property means it's
Yeah.
coming on in, okay? And that's what we want to
Yeah.
see, that
Yeah.
that kind of sustainability. So that is wonderful news, Kimmy. That's actually one of the things that the viewers love the most about your show is that there are so many dynamic stories compiled into this ensemble cast, like the story
Right.
of your son entering into young adulthood and everyone else in the cast. And
Right.
this season, one of the main stories that kind of knocked our socks off was the story of Destiny's return to the cast,
Yeah.
um, post this major relationship breakdown that took place between her and we knew her partner to be Moses, and
Right.
now what we know now was a producer on the cast, Sunny, who I had the pleasure of speaking with. So I definitely got Sunny's side of that. But what I thought was most interesting was that you decided to organize sort of just a sit down amongst yourself, Letitia and Sunny, to kind of clear the air on things and kind of hear Sunny's voice on that. What motivated you to kind of hear Sunny out? Because according to most people and a lot of the viewers, a lot of the conversation we see regarding the unconventional start to her relationship and her marriage to Moses, a
Mhm.
lot of people kind of closed the door in her face when it came to hearing what she had to say. What made you be open to hearing Sunny's side of that situation, Kimmy?
By nature, that's who I am. I
Mhm.
like to get both sides because I think there are two sides to every story. Well, quite frankly, three. Your side,
Yeah,
his side, and then the truth is in the
yeah.
middle somewhere. And for me, I think I can make an informed decision based on all the information. That's just me. And
Hmm.
secondly, circle, out of our circle, I felt like I probably had the most in as far as a relationship with Sunny because when I was diagnosed that season that I was diagnosed, she was one of the producers. She wasn't my producer, but she was one of the producers on set. And quite frankly, she played a pivotal part in me getting my diagnosis. Like she prayed with me, she brought me stuff and
Hmm.
with the day I went to get my biopsy and they were putting me in the car with the microphones and all the cameras, she leaned in the window and she prayed with me. She was literally the last face I saw as I
Hmm.
drove off to have a biopsy that eventually proved that I had triple negative breast cancer.
Hmm.
And so I felt like even as bad as everything sounded, that I owed her the
Hmm.
opportunity to at least save her peace. um, it didn't move me, like, it
Hmm.
didn't really move my opinion in how I think the situation went down, but I felt like I owed it to her for things that she had been to me in the past to at least hear her side and see if
Hmm.
there was any, corroboration in the story.
Yeah, and I bet that anytime you've been in a situation where you have some sort of engagement with a person and you're in some sort of relationship with a person and they make a decision that may be a little questionable, right? There's a moment there where you kind of process what you know the person to be and you kind
Right.
of juxtapose that against the decision that was made. What was that experience for you like with Sunny? Because something like your that breast cancer diagnosis being so personal and her making, a valiant effort to kind of have a connection with you in that moment, doing something like praying and just kind of trying to center you. How did that line up against what you saw her do in relationship or in regards to her relationship with Destiny? What
It
was
didn't
that?
line up at all with that
Yeah.
whole thing. It really didn't. It didn't line up at all. And that's why even when we had the conversation and Tisha and I were expressing like, girl, it don't look good. Like the
Mhm.
whole thing of it, if you thought about it in hindsight, would you do it different? That kind of thing. Because it didn't marry up. Like it didn't marry up with the person and like I said, she wasn't my producer.
Right.
So I didn't have a lot of interaction with her. But once she found out my diagnosis, she reached out several times. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so that just wasn't the person that I was, expecting. And we just wanted to tell her, like, as far as this circle is concerned, we think it's not cool. And we gonna let you know, like out the gate, that we think it's not cool. For whatever purposes, I got a couple of other things I think that they might have been thinking about in making this transition into the
Hmm.
show. But I just think the whole thing could have been done better.
What do you think they could have been thinking about, Kimmy? What are the other things that you think could have?
No, because listen, what I thought didn't really make the cut. So I don't know if I'm supposed to say what I thought,
Okay.
but I really feel like I feel like it was promotional.
Hmm.
Sonny's a producer.
Hmm.
Sonny's a producer. And so I felt like it was promotional. And that was a lot of my conversation in particular. I felt like it had a promotional edge to it
Hmm.
for her own personal benefits of producing other shows.
Yeah.
Um, And unfortunately, Destiny had to take the hit for that. And
Mhm.
so that's the part that just doesn't play out well or sit well with most people.
Does it impact what you know? We're multiple seasons in now, right? As your
Mm.
experience as part of the cast, does the Sunny experience of it all kind of impact your connection to producers or your trust level with the producers? Because you work closely hand in hand with the producers on this show when you're filming a reality show. So after seeing this turn, right, this pivot, because that's a hell of a pivot that took place, and it is something that has to be broken down, I mean, all the way down in order to be digestible, right? For you to understand how they arrived at the point of being husband and wife. Seeing how that took place, does that impact kind of the way that you or maybe some of the other cast members will engage with production moving forward? Or do you think this was like an isolated incident, just circumstantial between Sunny and Moses and by proxy Destiny?
I absolutely think it will affect not only our central cast, but
Hmm.
I think people who watch the reality TV.
Hmm.
I think it will affect a lot of people's opinion of producers being around your spouses or significant others. You know, Dr. Heavenly said it best when she was like, don't let them producers around your man. She was like, I don't even let them talk to my husband. I'll leave the message for you. And so, and it's unfortunate because there's going to be producers to feel away about this situation because, you know, a little pee taints the whole milk carton. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Hmm.
So it really is it does make you look at situations differently. But for me in particular, I never really put a lot of the producers in the friend zone. I don't know if I'm different, but I pretty much know they doing their job. And I figured that a long time ago when a lot of it is making you comfortable enough to tell some things that maybe you wouldn't say otherwise, you know?
Normally.
Right.
Hmm.
And I've done that before and it got out. And I was like,
Hmm.
I see what you're doing here. I see what you're doing here. So I kind of, you know, I kind of keep them at arm's distance anyway at this particular point. But I think most casts are gonna, you know, look twice, think three times before they trust as much as maybe they have in the past.
So it sounds like it's another element that has to be managed as far as you being a cast member on the show, the relationship with production, just like you manage the relationship with the viewers or the fans. And we noticed that in this past episode when you all met up for the sit down with Melody, which also the viewers love those sit downs. So when the core group, the
Right.
core cast of the show gets together, it's always just a refreshing throwback to season one and to what we really came to know the show to be. And when we saw you guys have that sit down, I think you were at a plant shop, right? When you
Yes.
yeah, when we saw that sit down, Melody had a couple questions about why you and Letitia had not attended her live podcast taping with Carlos King there in Huntsville. And you mentioned specifically that some of the fans had kind of made it a little difficult when it came to engaging with them, fans of Melodies
Mhm, mhm.
specifically have been a little challenging to like you and Letitia. Break that down a little bit more for us viewers. Like, what have you experienced at the hands of some of the fans that can get, we know the fans love you guys' stories and they get very, very passionate about what they see on screen. So
Mhm.
what part of the experience for you, specifically with the millimeters, has been the most challenging that kind of made you say, you know what, I might sit that room out this time?
Well, I think for the most part, for the podcast in general, the fact that Melody was Carlos's main guest,
Mhm.
that the assumption was made that primarily a lot of Melody's fans would be there. And they
Mhm.
have expressed their unhappiness with, you know, things I've said or things I've done, or maybe if I didn't necessarily agree with everything that Melody had said.
Okay.
Um, and I guess just like me, like they don't hold no punches. Like they don't hold no punches. And so, like, in my opinion, I'm in charge of my piece. And I'm not gonna go back and forth with somebody about a 42-minute edited show.
Yeah.
I appreciate people who can understand that you get to see what the producers want you to see.
Mhm.
And I can understand people making judgment based off of that. I really do understand it. I don't understand direct, malicious, vicious attacks.
Mhm.
Those I do not understand and I don't appreciate. And you can have your opinion. I said from the beginning of this show that the reason I like it so much is because I think all of us are very different. And
Yeah.
so if you don't care for me, that's cool. You can like roll with T, you can roll with Mel. If you don't care for one of them and you want to hang with me, okay, we can do that. You know what I'm saying? Come on
Yeah.
over to the Kim Zone. We cool. But
Yeah.
and literally, like, even if you look at my block list, I try not to block people. I don't do that. Like, if you can come over to my page and say your piece, I'm open to your piece. I promise I am. If you disagree with how I talk to Maurice, I'm okay with that. You
Mhm.
ain't have to agree with everything I do, but you don't have to talk to me crazy.
Yeah.
That's where my
Yeah.
line gets drawn. My line gets drawn at talking to me crazy. And for anybody who doesn't appreciate that, so be it. But
Yeah.
that's where I draw my line is talking to me crazy. And I felt like the environment might not be suitable for, going back and forth. I just wasn't in the mood to like go back and forth. And I could have assumed wrong, to be perfectly honest. It might have been a poor
Mhm.
assumption. But at this point in my life, I take control of my peace. Everybody on this show has a moment when they want to control their peace and they want to
Oh, for
detach or they
sure.
want to do whatever. So the fact that I chose that moment to be in control of my peace was just, part of my decision. And I don't have a lot of back and forth with the millimeters personally. I
Mhm.
really don't. But the few that I have had have been not pleasant.
Yeah.
Like, I just ain't into the name calling and stuff. Like, I
Yeah.
just I just don't see room for that. I think everybody can have their opinion and just kind of move on. Like, and if you don't like what I put on my page, roll on past that. Like, just
Yeah.
roll past that.
Yeah.
That was just my choice. That was just my choice at that time.
I can understand it because again, those conversations amongst the fans who fiercely love the show and fiercely love the people that they love on the show, they do get very, very passionate, and it does kind of affect the general mood of what's going on. And so I totally understand your decision. I just kind of wanted to clear up because a lot of times people can, and especially these fans who have locked all the way into these storylines,
Hmm.
they can kind of misconstrue that as some sort of rift, indication rather of a rift or a divide amongst you and Melody per se.
No,
People have been paying
no.
attention to the show for season one. We haven't really seen a fallout between you and Melody ever. Even when you may have had a difference of opinion, it was always done in a healthy way that kind of lended itself to respectful dialogue. And so I just wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of clear the air for those who may have had some questions on whether or not that impacted or affected your choice to not attend the live podcast taping. It had
So
no
no, no, no.
relevance. Yeah.
No, 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 no. It doesn't indicate any rift with me, Carlos, Mel, or
Mhm.
anybody. And much like you said, as of late, whenever we have some type of disagreement, we have done our best to have mutual conversation and take care of that. And we've done well, we've
Yeah.
done well in that regard. And I really wish that some of the ancillary people, quite frankly, could take note in regards to some of those conversations that have really moved the three of us in a much better place. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But no, it had zero reflection on a relationship with Melody and I.
Yeah.
It's some and Melody's been in this situation before where there's rooms she didn't want to be in
Hmm.
because of the energy or what have you.
Hmm.
So if we can respect that, then we can respect the fact that same goes over here. Like sometimes if the energy isn't that great, then we have the opportunity to say, I'm gonna, go where there's some different energy.
Yeah. And that listen, that's grown folks decision making. That's what that is. Uh we saw that things may not have always been in the best place amongst some of the cast members previously. We know the history between, kind of some of the rocky moments between Melody and Letitia. But what we love is, like I said, seeing you guys come back together. What kind of conversations did you guys have amongst the cast to kind of say, hey, we have a show to film here, let's respect the show that we're filming and figure out a way to kind of engage with each other and find a flow? What was that conversation like amongst the cast? Was there a conversation amongst the cast that kind of redirected things and got you guys back on track? Because even like last season, we saw when they were planning the Black Expo, when Letitia was planning the Black Expo, all of the 6 core members were involved, and you guys were regrouped as one. And that was a vast departure from some of the more spirited moments that we had seen amongst the cast before. So how did you guys find a way to kind of get the show back on track in that way? Because I think it's an excellent model for other shows to follow that kind of have a similar format to yours. What did you guys do to get things to a place where you could have sort of a mutual respect, at least for each other, enough to film together?
At the end of the day, before cameras were ever in our lives, we were friends.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't, casted. We weren't just plucked up from whatever. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that actually matters when we have disagreements, and that helps us come back together. To be honest, I think that's part of the difficulty when we have fallout with some of the other people that we just met on the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have that same level of love down there where we're going to bend over backwards to try to get things figured out. And when it comes to the show, in all fairness, a lot of these conversations happen because of the show. Because
Mm-hmm.
in real life, there's a lot of times, once I'm in an altercation with you, I'm like, I got stuff
Yeah,
to do.
for
Like, I'm
sure.
not going to spend a lot of time. And so in reality, in this show, sometimes we're forced to sit down and have conversations that we probably would never have, because we would keep on moving, like we would keep on rolling with our lives. And in this regard, with the core 6, that's one of those times when everybody wanted us to figure it out. We wanted to
Mm-hmm.
figure it out. Producers want us to figure it out. Owen wanted us to figure it
Yeah.
out. The fans wanted us to figure it out. And so when you see how deep that is to everybody, that core 6 make it happen, we agreed that, there has to be some type of cordialness, some type of commonality and respect, to where we don't hold on to stuff and let it pile up and fester. We get it out, we talk it out, we agree to disagree, whatever it is we need to do to not let things just kind of blow up like they did in the beginning.
Yeah.
And we all had a mutual respect and agreement in that regard.
Well, it was beautiful to see, and you are 100% right. The viewers definitely want to see more of that and wanted to see that, and so it felt so good to see you guys kind of on one accord and have that harmony amongst the cast. We actually saw a fantastic scene where your husband Maurice and his brother Marcel Scott kind of held Martell's feet to the fire and spoke directly to him about recent developments and things that were going on in that end. How do you feel about Martell's decision and the choices that he's made at this point when it comes to like the situation with him and Bailey? How do you feel about the whole arrest moment, the video being shopped around allegedly? How does all of that make you personally feel about your relationship with Martell at this point?
It's my relationship. I it's it's troubling.
Hmm.
And part of the fact that it's so troubling is that the person that Martell can be is a nice person, and then the person that Martell can be is not nice. And I know the fans take pleasure in
Hmm.
coming to my page about, oh, you think he's so nice. However, the part that hits the editing room floor is the part where I say, when he's not nice, he's awful.
Hmm.
And we've had conversations um, before in regards to, temper control, just temper
Hmm.
control, like how he speaks to us, like, chill out, like, chill out with that. So I think sometimes a knock on the head is a learning lesson. in
Hmm.
regards to you. I'm sorry doesn't fix everything. I'm sorry doesn't, mean much if you keep doing the same stuff over and over and over. So I was appreciative that Marceau and Maurice had that conversation with Martell. It might have been too little too late because maybe they should have been having over and over and over and over and over. Because some of the choices, a lot of the choices just has rabbit hole their situation into a place that makes it hard to recover ever. It's just something I'm sorry it's not gonna fix.
Yeah, yeah. I was glad to see them have that conversation, and I think it was it's just another indication of the original friendship that you spoke of that you all had, where you can kind of hold your friends accountable when you have a tie that binds like that in friendship, and you can say, "Hey, what you did wasn't cool. What's going on with you?" It was a checking, but it was also a check in. You know what I mean? And that I think
Mhm,
speaks to that thread of the undercurrent of friendship that
mhm,
exists amongst you all. So we hope to see the best. And listen, accountability, like you said, sometimes a hard hit on the head is what you need to kind of refocus. And so we are definitely hoping for the best with that.
mhm.
Um, okay, so what did you think about Tisha's disposition with Sunny when you all had to sit down, right? Now we know that Letitia has a friendship with Destiny, and we know that Letitia also is a day one founding member of this cast of Love and Marriage Huntsville,
Mhm,
so she has something to be said. And it was pretty clear to the viewers that Letitia was not very happy with some of the decisions that Sunny has made regarding her relationship with Moses. What did you think? Did you kind of anticipate? I know you said that you didn't tell Letitia that Sunny was going to be coming to meet you all that day. Was that intentional because you kind of foresaw that, this may be something that Letitia might have to warm up to and be, caught off guard to kind of receive? What was that moment like for you? And what did you think about Letitia's disposition? What did you think caused her disposition to kind of be what it was in that conversation with Sunny?
Oh, Tisha did everything I expected Tisha to do. Tisha, I mean, because we're all friends.
Yeah,
However, her and Destiny are closer,
yeah,
and I knew that there were some things that she had questions about too, but I also knew that she didn't care about Sunny's side. So she wasn't going to call her and ask her, like, hey, girl, like,
yeah,
let me hear what you got to say. And I felt like if I gave her too much of a heads up, she'd be boiling mad before we
yeah,
ever sat down. So I figured if she didn't know out the gate, it would give us a few minutes to rev up to the trifling.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
to, to all of those points. But Tisha was Tisha. That nothing about that conversation surprised me
Mhm.
whatsoever. In all fairness, I think all of us handled it very well, including Sunny, by having to have that conversation with two against one, so to speak.
Mhm.
So I think that Tisha did Tisha. Like y'all be sleeping on Tisha. Tisha, when she has an opinion and she's here, you know it.
Yeah, you definitely know it. I listen. We've gotten to see so many new facets of Letitia's personality as
Right.
the show has progressed, and we love that. Letitia's very smart. She's a great mom, and we love hearing her use her voice in situations like that. So, I don't think I was surprised either, but it was very clear that there was a new wall that was up in between Letitia and Sunny at that point. So that was very interesting to see. Um, right now, what do you think is the state of your relationship with, like, you, Letitia, and Melody, right? When you sat down at that table and you all were catching up and making, creative, potting those plants, it looked like friendship to us. Would you say that right now you and now with you and Letitia, it's a little bit different because there's a familial tie. You all are sister-in-laws. Would you say that at this point, Letitia and Melody are your friends? Are you all friends at this point?
I think because, yes, I do.
Hmm. Hmm.
However, I think that we have stumbling blocks. We
Hmm.
have moments of uncertainty. I mean,
Mhm.
like as far as judging what a person may say or do, or if this person actually like is 100% in your corner, because we've had setbacks in the past, all of us at some point or
Yeah.
another, being besties, like it takes work,
Hmm.
so if a lot of times people in the community try to label us as besties. Oh, they not your friend, they not your best friend. We're not claiming to be besties. We're not claiming to be besties. We're claiming to be working on our friendship.
Hmm.
Because I think all of us at one point or another feel like we've been let down by one of those persons. And
Yeah.
so it takes time to kind of rebuild those things to get back to that like good, healthy place. But I think because of where we started, that it makes the job easier. Like, I think
Yeah.
that definitely makes the job easier because we love to hang out. And when we hang out and everybody's in a good place, it's actually so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a better time than when we're not in a good place.
Yeah. Well, we love to see it and we can tell the difference. And that's why I think that was just such a good scene. I know for me personally to see, I loved the way that you all were just being honest with each other in that scene, you, Letitia, and Melody, just exchanging, updates with each other. It just felt like friends, real friends catching up. And I think the authenticity of the relationships on this show is really what has shot it into like, just the stratosphere of success at this point because it's the real deal. People appreciate the realness of this show. And one of the
Right.
most real moments that we saw specifically from you and your husband, Maurice, which I'm a fellow Michigander, so I have a special place for, the Scott brothers. But when I saw the conversation that you and Maurice had when you were bike riding last season and you were talking about like the waning of sexual desire per se or motivation to engage in that part of your relationship, which you had previously been very upfront about it being an important part of your relationship.
Mhm.
And so it was very clear that that was not an issue per se of you wanting to participate in it. But we saw some conversation amongst the two of you that was very honest and kind of got my boy Maurice into a little bit of hot water moving forward. Where is all that standing right now? Do you have any update that you feel comfortable sharing with the viewers now connected to that part of your relationship?
Listen, I almost regret sharing the first part. Yee, golly dang. It spiraled out of control.
Yeah.
And that moment did create a buzz through the community. Unfortunately, a lot of people miss the actual information of it all because
Yeah.
the actual information is that it's very common.
Hmm.
And I didn't know it. Like, I actually didn't know it. And I thought that I was depressed.
Hmm.
Um, and so the point was to try to get out more information. And
Yeah.
I think, we as a show kind of belabored the point. But in all honesty, it helped. Like, we actually did we had done premarital counseling before we got married. So we actually did a little bit more in that regard because Maurice and Marceau has this real disposition about like they don't really care what the people think. And I'm more of, you kind of put out there a really bad representation of like what was going on. So
Okay.
you take your part and it's not just what other people think. You know what I mean? Um,
Yes.
and so we had to collectively come to an understanding about the role that each of us played in that. Because part of the role for me that I didn't really get either was that I shared that with him on national TV. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it was a bigger thing that we really had to kind of delve into. And so we did take a little bit of time to talk to another therapist just to kind of make sure we were all on the same page
Hmm.
and kind of get things back on track. Like,
Good.
back on track is good for everybody.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, I see you smiling. That smile got big, so I know things are back on track over there in the Scott household. Okay, good. Well, that's wonderful. Now, before we get out of here, there's some new people in the mix this year.
Mhm,
We met Tisha on this episode, who we know is a personal trainer. Her and her
mhm.
husband, or her and her partner, excuse me, are very, very focused on physical fitness. You can tell they look incredible. And we know that Trisha has some other connections to people in the cast. Are you in relationship with Trisha at all during the season? Will we see you interact with her moving forward? Or what can you tell us about the addition of Trisha to the cast this season?
Listen, Trisha is probably gonna talk about us bad in her confessionals
Oh
because
no.
I'm saying because that chick look good. Like I'm saying, like her body is amazing. She is
Yes.
like put together nicely. And Jesus still working on our baby bodies and all that kind of stuff. So I get to know Trisha during this season, and I did not know her prior in
Okay.
any shape, form, or fashion. I think some of the other ladies had actually met her going to the gym and that kind of thing in passing. And so I do get to know Trisha a little bit better during the course of the season. And some of the things that go on in her world that she cares to share, um, which are fascinating.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think that it'll leave a lot of space for conversation.
Hmm.
Get everybody getting to know them will leave a lot of space for conversation. I think it's a good thing.
You're a pro, Kimmy, and we love that about you because the way you just answered that question, there being space left for conversation based on so much participation means we're in store for a ride. I'm picking up what you put down, Kimmy. Okay. Well, listen, it's been great to catch up. I hope that we get to chat again as the season progresses. I'm sure we will. Um,
Likewise.
Anything that you would like to remind the fans as we move forward with the season? As we said, the conversations get really, really passionate. Is there any note that you want to give the fans on just, how to kind of enjoy the season as we move forward?
Just that. Enjoy
Yeah.
the season. Like enjoy that can't put you in a good headspace or a happy place to, be going back and forth with people over stuff. I believe Jesus made us different for a reason. Like
Yeah.
he made us in a space where you can have your own opinion about stuff and we can have ours about stuff. As long as that's done respectfully and cordially, I think this place can go to new heights. I
Yeah.
really, really do. And I don't want to take it the opposite direction. Um, because of the misnomer that, we don't know how to act. Because we do.
Yeah. We do. We
Because we do.
definitely do. Well,
So
that's right.
stick around, watch the show Saturday nights on OWN, 8/7 Central. We doing what we doing. Um, and I think you're gonna like it.
Well, we're so happy to have you all back for another fantastic season, Kimmy. And it's been great catching up with you today. And we look forward to just more and more and more and more Kimmy as the season goes on. And we'll see you on Saturday nights.
Thank you so much, Josh. You've been so cool.
No problem. Thank you so much, Kimmy. All right.
Bye bye.
We'll see you again soon.